How's it going, everybody? Mikey Schlosser here with True. Today we are going to look at and string the True frequency speed head. So the frequency speed is one of three heads in the frequency line. So they have a speed, a universal, and the defensive oriented one. So the speed is the lightest one. You know, it's built for an offensive minded player. Universal is a little bit stiffer, built for kind of like the two-way midfielder, and then the defense version is built for a defender. The big difference between the head is the lower sidewall rail. On the speed, it's very, it's a very gradual slope going down here, so it's designed for kind of a mid to lower pocket, whereas the universal drops a little bit lower for more of a mid pocket, and the defense drops down very quickly for a high pocket. So on this speed, we are going to string up kind of a nice mid pocket that'll also carry the ball well low. So really designed for the offensive player, designed for good for dodging, shooting the ball on the move, shooting ball time and room and everything. So going off this, we're gonna string it up with the new True semi-soft mesh. So this semi-soft mesh is ultra light. It's good in all weather conditions. It doesn't absorb the water too much. So you can play in the rain, play wherever. And one thing I like about this, it breaks in really quickly, and then it's ready to rock and roll right away. So the first thing I do once I grab a piece of mesh is I always stretch it out. So I'm grabbing it by each end, pulling this thing, stretching it out wide, getting it ready to string up the way I would like it. So we're gonna do this one on the 9 diamond. So if you count across, you'll see there's a 9 diamond and a 10 diamond. So I'm gonna fold this over and see how the mesh has a natural arc to go backwards. This is how you wanna fold it in that direction, because this arc, this is the back side of the mesh. So I'm folding it over. I got the 9 diamond. I'm gonna pinch it. I'm gonna bend it down. Get this all dialed in. Stretch that out one more time. And then I already pre-cut these shooting string, or these nylons. So I have this one that goes right about to my shoulder for my finger. So knot wise, I'm gonna tie a little double knot. So I'm going through once, going through twice, cinching that thing tight. And I like to pull it together, make sure it's not going anywhere. So now that we have our mesh all stretched out, ready to go, folded up on the 9 diamond, everything's set. We're gonna start stringing this bad boy. So we're starting with the top string. So we're gonna go on the second hole. So the second hole down from the top, we're gonna go through that hole, then up through the mesh, pull that, back through the plastic, and then up through the mesh one more time. We're gonna pull that nice and tight. Nice and tight. We're actually gonna go around this again. So I'm gonna go back through the plastic, up through the mesh, and doing that twice really locks it in, so we know that thing's not going anywhere. So then we run this across, line it up. We're gonna go through this first mesh hole first. So we're gonna go through the mesh, back through the plastic. It creates this little hole. Pull that through the hole, cinch that down. Next, we're gonna go through the plastic, back through the mesh, cinch that down. See how it's kind of right on that little dimple there. Then we're gonna bump over to this next one. We're going in the mesh first, back through the plastic, lock it down on one side of the dimple, through the plastic, back through the mesh. Lock that down. We can see it's starting to come across, starting to take shape. Going through the mesh, through the plastic, locking that down, making sure we get that right in the middle. Come through. We want to make sure we really cinch these things nice and tight. Nice and tight. Make it nice and consistent. So finishing off here through the mesh, back through the plastic. Really torquing that every time. Torquing that through, then through the plastic. Here we go. Now to finish it off, we're gonna go through the mesh, through that sidewall, back in here. We're gonna pull that nice and tight on the first go around. Then we're gonna run it through one more time, remember, because we doubled up. We got just enough here to really lock that in on that double. Tie a good solid knot here. Then we have a good, strong, sturdy, locked in top string right there. Top string is very important because it provides a base for your entire string job. So you want to make sure you have a good top string. Then we can do the sidewalls and work our way down. So moving on to the sidewalls here. So we're going to go the first hole down from where we locked off the top string. We're going through the plastic, up through the mesh, back through the plastic, and then back up through the mesh. We're going to pull that down nice and tight. Then we're going to skip a hole, go through the plastic, lock that down, up through the mesh. We're going to pull that mesh kind of over that little knot we made. Then through the plastic, creates this hole through the hole. Then up through the mesh, same thing, pull that down. Then we're going to go skip a hole again through the plastic, pull that down, up through the mesh. We're starting to feel out our pocket, starting to take shape here. Then we're going to skip a hole again through the plastic. Now we're going to double up. So we're going to go up through the mesh once, pull it down, up through the mesh twice, pull that down, and what that does, that's going to start to create our pocket there. Now we're going to skip a hole, go through the plastic, pull that down, and go up through the mesh, and then we're actually going to double up again. We're going to go up through the mesh again, but this time we're going to skip 2 holes. So 2 holes through the plastic, pull it up, cinch that down. Now we're going to do a single. We're going to go up through the mesh, and then we're going to go skip 1 through the plastic, lock it down, up through the mesh, skip 1 again, lock that down. Then we're going to go up through the mesh here. See how we're pulling that down? And we're actually going to lock this one down on the same hole that we started it with. So that's going to create that little anchor at the bottom that holds that mesh in. Then once we've created that, we're just going to go through the bottom hole, lock that down, and there we go. That's one sidewall for us there. We're going to move on. I'm going to grab my other one that I had pre-cut over here. And then we're going to do the other side. So same exact thing. We want to make sure we're symmetrical. We're going to go through the plastic, up through the mesh, through the plastic again, up through the mesh. We're going to skip 1 hole through the plastic, pull that down, pull that tight. Here we go, up through the mesh, pull that over, see how we try and get that to sit on top. Skip 1 hole again, pull it up here, go up through the mesh again, lock that in, skip 1 hole again, back up through the mesh, lock it in. We're starting to, that pocket's starting to take shape. We're going 1 more here before we double up. Lock that down, here we go. Up 1, double up for the 2 there. As I do that, I'm starting to break this thing in. I'm starting to take shape the way we want it to. We're skipping a hole here, locking that down. Then we're going to do another double. So 1, 2. And we're also going to skip 2 holes on this one. Lock that down. Coming up through the mesh again. Going down, skipping 1. Locking that in. Up through the mesh again. Down here. Locking that in. And then last one here. Up through the mesh, and this is where we go on the same hole. We're going to go in that same exact hole, and that's what locks down that final mesh hole. It's going to keep the pocket from moving around crazy amount. And we're going to clamp down the bottom. And now this thing's really starting to take shape here. Looking really good. Got both the sidewalls in there locked in. Now that we get the sidewalls finished up, we are going to do the bottom string. So for this bottom string, notice there's 4 holes. We're going to use this inside hole to start. We're going to go through it and then back through it again so we can anchor this in. See how we anchor that in? Now we're going to go out through that outer hole. And on this one, we're going to go on the 9 diamond. So here's the 10. So here's the 10 right there. We're going to go on the 9. So we're going to use this 9 diamond right here. We're going to go on the outside, up, down, up, and we're going to do that a couple times until we get to the center one. So right here is that 5th diamond on the middle. We're actually going to skip that one, go to the next, and then keep going. And the reason why we skip that is because since it is an uneven number, if we were to go up and down the whole way, we'd start on the bottom and finish on the top. So by skipping that one in the middle, it ensures that we start on the bottom and then finish at the bottom. What we're going to do here, we're going to pull this down kind of tight. This bottom string is going to be, have to be adjusted as we play, as we break it in. We're going to lock that down for now where we want it. And then, once everything stretches out a little bit, we may end up tightening that bottom string. But to start, that's a good spot right in the middle. It's going to help create a really nice pocket for us right there. Now we're going to throw the shooting strings on our true frequency speed here. So I've figured out exactly where I want them. I'm going to do it so my top nylon is 1 notch underneath the top. So my lowest shooter is going to go right here. And I'm not going to go around the plastic on this one. I'm just going to go around the outside of the mesh and the sidewall. And so one reason why you do that sometimes is it's really going to ensure that the shooting string is not going to have too much hook on it. Sometimes if you wrap it around the plastic and maybe you accidentally tie it too tight, you could end up with a little too much whip, too much hook. And so I'm just going to go around the sidewall in the mesh on this. So once I'm through, I'm going down through the top, up through the bottom, down again through the top. And once again, I'm making this, kind of snug, but I'm not pulling it tight. It's just snug. You don't really want any loose ends. The way I like to do it, you don't want any loose ends, but at the same time, you don't want, it to be too tight where it affects the ball too much. I prefer to have the pocket dictate how the stick throws, not the shooting string. So once we're through, I'm going to kind of feel this out, make sure it's not too tight. And then our knot, we're going to do single knot again, a little bit tighter, then finish off with this double knot. Put these guys together, pull that nice and tight. It's going to make sure that thing doesn't go anywhere. Then I'm going to throw one more shooting string, 1 slot above, so the slot right above, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go 1 slot above that. Spread them out a little bit. So same thing, just around the sidewall and the mesh, not the plastic, going up and down, all the way through here. Getting this all set up and down, pulling that through. Then same thing as the bottom one, down on one side, up on the other. Creates that nice little weave. Down on one side, up on the other. Sometimes people will put them through at the same time, but I like to do one at a time. Makes it a little easier. We're at the end here. We'll go single knot, a little tighter, and then finish off with a nice strong double one here. That's going to make sure this thing doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't get any looser, doesn't get any tighter. Really lock that in. So we got those two. They flow with the mesh well. They're not too tight. They're going to really let that ball come right off. And then we're going to finish off with a top nylon here. So we're going to finish this off with a top nylon. And so how we're going to do this one is, let's check it out. We're going to assess. We'll see where we want to put it through. What we're going to do, we'll do it same as the shooters. We're going to run it through the outside of the sidewall on the mesh. There's that little gap right there. Then we're going to go up and then just up and down all the way through the mesh to the end. All the way through. Get that locked in. Let's get the first one through, looking good. We'll make sure. Run this guy through, up and down, same as the soft hockey lace shooters. Just, down through the top, up through the bottom. You gotta make sure you alternate. And same thing for this. I never want my nylon to be too tight. Some people like it tight. It all really is preference, but for me, I like it just kind of like whatever tension the mesh is, it's gonna keep it, I like to feel the ball come out of the stick. We're gonna do the same knot as we've done the other one, the two singles, then lock them all together, and then voila. We have got this thing finished, strung up, and something we're gonna do now is we're gonna trim off all this extra hair we got going on here, get rid of any extras. So what I like to do for these bottom ones, cut them off. We'll give a little bit of room just in case you need to adjust. For these shooting strings, same story. I like to try and make them even while giving room to adjust. Got to make sure you always burn the ends when you're done. Burn it, lick your fingers, make sure you squeeze it together. Make sure that stuff doesn't fray, because if it frays, you'll end up, basically ruining your shooting string or ruining your nylon. Here we have it, the true frequency speed, strung up, ready to go. Notice we trimmed these long ends. We made sure to burn them, cinch the ends down, make sure that it's not going to fray, not going to go anywhere. So on this stick, we strung a mid pocket, a mid to low pocket. The ball sits right there in the middle. The ball can happily move down to be carried down low. Definitely a really good pocket for an attackman that likes to carry the ball a lot, or a midfielder who likes to pass. This stick has very little whip. It's very smooth. It has a very quick, snappy release without too much whip. So it allows you to get the ball in and out of your stick very quickly. And I think it's the type of thing that can really help take your game to the next level, because passing really is the key to moving up in the ranks. So definitely a great stick for that. Great stick for carrying. Can do it all. So check out the new frequency speed head. All strung up, ready to rock and roll, ready to dominate.